Someone once said that you can't go home again, but they lacked vision. And a temporal discombobulator.
Hey, how are you all doing out there? This is another video in Let's Make WoW Great Again, and today we're gonna have a look at Mage and Mage talent, from leveling to endgame PvE and PvP. So, first off, let's just take a look at the talent tree. We have Arcane, Fire, and Frost. Now, for leveling, I would definitely stay away from Arcane, which is a very poor choice because it does not have a lot of damage output. From level 1 to 20, I would definitely go Fire, because this has a lot more damage output than Frost. After level 20, Frost is the way to go, especially if you are a single player guy. But Fire is darn close as well, and it's very fun to play. And if you are in a group or play on a regular basis with friends, I would definitely go Fire. So why would I still choose Fire after level 20? Well, at level 20 you get Pyroblast. That's a spell that takes a long time to cast, but wow. When you crit, what an opening to any fight. If you have 5 points in Ignite and you crit, your target will burn for another 40% of your spell damage, which is pretty nice to have. Later in game you get Critical Mass, which increase your crit chance by 6%. Firepower, which gives you an extra 10% on fire spells. Combustion, which will build up your crit chance by 10% with each fire spell you cast, and it lasts until you have landed 3 critical strikes. So leveling as a fire mage is pretty fun, as I said, and even all the way to level 60. Now, when you reach 60, there is still some 5-man instances and 20-man raids. And this is my preferred setup for these, because once you hit Molten Core and raids like that, you will not be using fire for a long time. So let's take a look at this. This is a fire combustion setup, and we have used 17 points on Arcane, 31 on Fire, and 3 on Frost. We have 2 on Arcane Subtlety, which reduce the target's resistance to all your spells by 10, which of course is important. And the aggro on Arcane by 40%, but we don't use that, so that's not an issue really. We have 3 out of 5 on Arcane Focus, reduces the chance that your opponent can resist your arcane spells by 6, which is not very important either, but we need the points to get down to another level. Now, Magic Absorption, increase all the resistance by 6 and causes all your spells to fully resist and restore 3% of your total mana, which is pretty nice to have because being a fire mage is very mana expensive. We have 5 on Arcane Concentration, gives you a 10% chance to entering a clear state. After any damage spell hits a target, the clear casting state reduces the mana cost of your next damage spell by 100%. So this basically means that you can get a free spell, free of mana. And we have 2 points on Magic Attunement. Increase the effect by amplifying magic and dampening magic spells by 50%. On Fire Spell we have of course 5 on Improved Fireball, as we talked about, 5 on Ignite, 2 on Incinerate. Incinerate increases the critical strike chance of your Fire Blast and your Scorch spell by 4%, which is nice. As a mage in vanilla, you want to get high crit. That goes for your gear as well. Crit gear is absolutely fantastic for mages. Many take away the Pyroblast, but I mean, it's the Pyroblast. It's way too fun to not have in your arsenal, to be honest. And we have 2 points on Burning Souls. Gives your fire spells a 70% chance to not lose casting time when you take damage and reduces the threat caused by your fire spells by 30%. This is incredibly important not to get aggro, and of course you won't get interrupted if you're hit. 3 points on 3 points on improved Scorch. Your Scorch spell have a 100% chance to cause your target to be vulnerable to fire damage. This vulnerability increases the fire damage dealt to your target by 3% and lasts 30 seconds. Stands up to 30,001 times. I guess that's a bit off. So I'm not sure. It's probably going to be 3 times on that. I can't remember, to be honest. I'm sorry about that. And Master of Elements. Your fire and frost spells criticals will be refunded, or will refund 30% of their base mana cost, which is also nice to have when you're a fire mage and need your mana. 3 on Critical Mass. Increase the critical strike chance of your fire spells by 6%. Again, crit. Very nice to have. 5 on Firepower. Increase the damage done by your fire spells by 10%. Of course, it's a must-have. And we have 1 on Combustion. When activated, this spell causes each of your fire damage spells to hits to increase your critical strike chance with fire damage spells by 10%. This effect will last until you have caused 3 critical strikes with fire spell. This stacks up until you hit 3 times, then you start over again. We talked about that earlier as well. And at last, we have 3 on Frost. Reduces the chance that your opponents can resist your frost and fire spells by 6%, which is also very nice to have. So, what are the downside of being a fire mage? Well, it's very mana costly and it lacks survivability. That's basically it. And we're going to take a look at Frost. Frost is usually preferred for leveling. It has a very good damage to mana ratio and it has a lot of survivability. Spells as Cold Snap, Ice Block and Ice Barrier are very good defensive spells. Cold Snap finish all cooldown on the frost spells. Ice Block protects you from all physical and spell damage for 10 seconds. It also removes like Blind and Fear. Ice Barrier, it absorbs 818 damage, and this will definitely throw off first attacks from a rogue, for example, where his big and powerful cooldown moves will be absorbed in your shield. Frost mages have a main offensive spell which slows down the target, and with Permafrost it will slow them down even more. If you take 5 points in Shatter, it will increase the critical chance of a frozen target by 50%. So freezing your target and spamming frost bolts and so on will give you some serious damage. So for you guys out there that is running most of the time alone in World of Warcraft Vanilla, Frost is definitely the way to go. So let's take a look at a decent spec for leveling as a Frost mage. First thing is you want to go down the Frost tree. We have 5 points on improved Frostball, 3 points in Elemental Precision, 5 points in Ice Charge. This increases your critical strike damage bonus of your frost spell by 100%. And yeah, important. 3 points in Frostbite gives your chill effects a 15% chance to freeze the target for 5 seconds, which is also pretty nice to have. Improved Frost Nova, 2 points, reduce the cooldown of your Frost Nova spell by 4 seconds. Permafrost, as we talked about earlier, increase the duration of your chill effect by 3 seconds and reduces the target speed by an additional 10%. Piercing Ice, increase the damage done by your frost spells by 4%. Cold Snap, as we talked, when activated this spell finishes the cooldown of all your frost spells. Very important to have, especially when you're in big trouble. Arctic Reach, 2 points. Increase the range of your Frost spells and Blizzard spell and the radius of your Frost Nova and Cone of Cold spells by 20%. Frost Channeling, 3 of 3. Reduce the mana cost of your Frost spells by 15% and reduce the threat caused by your Frost spells by 30%. Shatter, as we talked about, 5 points, increase the critical strike chance of all your spells against frozen targets by 50%. And of course, Ice Block, 3 points in Winter's Chill. 5 points, I mean. Give your frost damage spells a 100% chance to apply the Winter's Chill effect, which increases the chance of your frost spells will critically hit the target by 2% for 15 seconds. Stacks up to 15,000 times, but if I remember correctly, that's supposed to be 5 times. And we have 1 point in Ice Barrier, as we talked about as well. 2 points in Arcane Subtlety, and 3 points in Arcane Focus. And the last 5 points in Arcane Concentration. I have to say, this is not an end game spec in any means. This is what I have been using for leveling. It gives you, like I said, a lot more survivability, and it has some great defensive spell as well as offensive ones. And it's very mana efficient. Now, let's take a look at endgame PvE and PvP. We'll kick off the ball with Fire. The PvE endgame Fire spec is based upon Arcane Concentration, Arcane Meditation, and Master of Elements. This is the same fire combustion setup as earlier, but let's just head in and look at the details once more and why we choose this. You will do great DPS, but it's, like I said before, very mana costly. So we have 5 points in Arcane Concentration, gives you 10% chance of entering a clear state after any damage spell, and your next spell will be free. Arcane Meditation allows 10% of your mana regeneration to continue while casting, which we have 2 out of 3 points in. And we have the Master of Elements. Your fire and frost spell criticals will refund 30% of the base mana. Now this spec does a great deal of damage, especially when you have 5 in Ignite. Your dot damage will be very high. And alongside 3 in Scourge, which have a 100% chance to cause your targets to be vulnerable for fire damage. This vulnerability increases the fire damage dealt to your target by 3% and lasts 30 seconds. And it stacks up to 30,000 times, which is wrong, by the way. But still, once this is all in, you will do great dot damage and great DPS overall. And once you're done with Molten Core and the fire resistant places, Sul, Grub and Ahn'Quiraj will be up in AQ 40. Fire is the preferred choice. It's way superior to Frost endgame. Now let's take a look at my favorite PvP endgame spec, a version of the PYRO. This is an extremely fun spec in PvP, and it's a very deadly combination. Now we have gone up with 21 points in Arcane to get Presence of Mind. When activated, your next magic spell with a casting time less than 10 seconds become an instant. And my god, it's fun to take the Pyroblast after that. Now, other things to notice is that we have 3 points in Fire Blast, which is an instant spell doing okay damage. And we have 2 points in Burning Souls, which give us a 70% chance to not lose casting time when you take damage and reduces the threat cost by your fire spells by 30%. Another thing, we have a great AoE spell, it's the Blast Wave. This is great when you encounter melee fighters and it will daze them for 6 seconds. Now there is several variations of the pump Pyro. Many people have improved arcane missiles and none of the magic absorption. I like to have some resistance and it's increased by 4 here. And many people have flamethrowing, which increases the range of your fire spells by 6 yards. Now I've taken 2 points on impact because I like my chances to stun the target. This is basically a preference, but there's no, it's how you like to play, so there is no right or wrong here. Now on the Frost side of the endgame PvE, we have 2 options. One is called Winter's Chill and the other one Arcane Frost. Let's take a closer look on the Winter's Chill. Now we have spent 19 points in Arcane, 0 on Fire and 32 points on Frost. We have Arcane Subtlety, 2 of 2, 3 on Arcane Focus, 4 on Magic Absorption, and 5 on Arcane Concentration. This is due to declare casting and your next spell will be for free, mana-wise. And we have 2 of 2 in Magic Attunement, and we have 3 in Arcane Meditation. Allows 15% of your mana regeneration to continue while casting. Now over to the Frost side, we have 5 points in Winter's Chill. This is the heart and soul in this build. And this is the reason why in almost every raid one guy has the Winter's Chill spec. The Winter Spell check gives your Frost damage spell a 100% chance to apply the Winter Chill effect, which increases the chance of a Frost spell will critically hit the target by 2%. Now this stacks up to 5 times, which gives you 10% extra crit chance. This is the main reason why there is one of these guys in each raid to give the other guys a boost, the 10% crit chance, and the other mages will love you for it. Another thing to notice is that we have put 2 points in Permafrost and 2 points in Improved Blizzard. This is mainly due to crowd control and to slow down mobs, which is pretty great. This spec is mainly great for AoE and a supporting role, because most of the time you will be spent spamming Improved Frost Ball. This build has great mana efficiency, it has great AoE and it's very good for support. But you won't be on the top of the damage list, so it might be a bit boring. Now let's take a look at the Arcane Frost spec. This is the spec that most mages will go to when it comes to dungeon and raids. We have 31 points used on Arcane, 0 on Fire and 20 on Frost. Some noteworthy talents are such as Arcane Meditation. We have already been through this. It's Declare Casting State, which reduces the mana of your next spell by 100%. We have 3 points in Arcane Meditation, which allows 15% of your mana regeneration to continue while casting. From the other build, we have taken 1 on Arcane Resilient, which gives us Arcane Mind. This increases your maximum mana by 10%. We have 2 points on Improved Counterspell, and we have 1 in Presence of Mind. When activated, your next magic spell will, with the casting time less than 10 seconds, becomes instant cast spell. And we have 3 points in Arcane Instability. increases your spell damage and critical strike chance by 3%. And last, we have Arcane Power. When activated, your spell deals 30% more damage while costing 30% more mana to cast. Now this provides great burst damage when needed in raids. Now let's take a look at the Frost side. We have 3 in Frost Channeling, we have 1 in Arctic Reach, 3 in Piercing Eyes, 5 in Ice Shards, and 5 in Improved Frostbolts, and 3 in Elemental Precision. This build provides great damage output, it's very mana efficient, and as I mentioned earlier, it has a great burst damage when needed. Now let's take a look at Frost PvP. So my go-to spec in PvP Frost is Full Frost. Now Full Frost is 17 on Arcane and 34 in Frost. We have Ice Berry on top, which will give you that nice shield if especially any melee people sneaks up behind you. We have of course Ice Block, and we have improved Cone of Cold because you have 5 in Shatter, which increase the critical strike chance of your frozen targets by 50%. And that's what this specs is. It's trying to freeze your opponents and do crits. That's why we have the improved Cone of Cold. We also have Arctic Reach, which will give you 20% further reach. We have 1 in Piercing Eyes. We have of course Cold Snap. We have 5 in Ice Shards and 3 in Frostbite, as well as some AoE spells, Improved Blizzard and Permafrost, which will make them go even slower. We have also 2 in Improved Frost Nova. On the Arcane side, we have 2 points in Arcane Subtlety, we have 3 in Arcane Focus, 5 in Arcane Concentration, 2 in Magic Attunement, increases the magic effect of your Amplify Magic and Dampen Magic spells by 50%. We have 2 points in Improved Arcane Explosions, 1 in Arcane Resilience, and we have the very important Improved Counterspell, rank 2 of 2. Gives your counterspell a 100% chance to silence the target for 4 seconds. Now this PvP spec is pretty awesome. It has a lot of survivability, it's very mana friendly, it has great AoE, and with that Frostbite, which has 15% extra chance to freeze your target, and with your 5 points in Shatter, you can do some serious damage. And now guys and girls, this was my last video for them. No, it wasn't. I'm gonna have one more video in the Mage series, and that's for next week. And we're gonna talk about proficiencies and gear, where to get the best gear for the level you're at. And when WoW Classic comes live, I will be going live on Twitch. I've tried to stream a little bit on Twitch. I'm not very confident about how it works and if I get it to work, but I will at least try. So next week, last video in the Mage series, what proficiencies to choose and where to get the best gear. So if you liked this video, give me a thumbs up, and if you liked it very much, please go ahead and subscribe. It's only fun. And man, I hope I will see you when Classic comes out. Cheers, have a very nice weekend. This is SneakyWoolCloth. See you guys and girls later. Bye bye.